Will I cry? Will I leave?
Hello and welcome everyone to the 2.03 update show. My name is Gormizer and I am joined here at the round table for what is going to be an interesting day, I would have to say, just because of the way things have been going. And, you know, I'm here with Alyssa, I'm with Garrett, and we have a new face joining us as well. But Garrett, you have been chosen to be the herald of bad news
That's
for
the new guy,
the way
right?
things have been going. Obviously, this is much later than we normally would have started, and you're going to be the one who gets to rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah. We're sorry about the time delay, guys. So today we really want to focus on kind of the steps we're taking to make Paladins a better game over in general, and the kind of the steps we're taking to make that a reality. And part of that is talking to you guys about kind of the technology facets, which Dale will get into in a moment. But that also is like not discussing these things directly in tandem with us showing you all the cosmetic things. So what we're going to do is today we're going to go through kind of the hunt effort, introduce Dale and some of the steps he's taking to make us a better product, and then go through the balance things. And then tomorrow, when all of our new content is very much ready and polished and totally like willing to be shown, we're going to go through and we're going to show the new character and kind of all of the new things for the events and
New characters, Atlas.
And so I guess, I mean, without further ado, the first thing that we're going to be talking about, pretty much like every patch notes, just with maybe a little bit less meat right afterward, is the hunt. And
The
this is where
hunt.
Dale comes in. You
There
actually
it
had
is.
a big Reddit post that you posted. I can't remember if it was last night or sometime in the last couple of days, because I actually read it this morning. But, you know, just go ahead, introduce yourself to the community and what exactly like you do here and what exactly, I guess, the
So this
plans
is the
are, the
guy.
process is
Okay.
everything that's going on with the hunt.
Yeah, so my name is Dale Flowers. I have been the technical director on Smite. I took over recently as the technical director on Paladins. I also just recently got moved up to being the executive producer on Paladins, and that is very much in line with what we are trying to do here. My technical background is very much about going through and debugging.
I made a
processes,
video earlier about this.
and
That
so
video was in the works before
moving me
this.
into
But
this position is very much a statement from the top.
yeah, exactly.
that
It's
we are
basically
serious
the
about
management
this, we are
saying, "Hey,
doing
fix
this,
our damn game."
let's go through and get things changed and get things improved.
And so this has been something that we mentioned, like 2.01, Amani is getting released. We start talking about the hunt. The next patch, we're talking about the hunt. It's still going on. And that's kind of the goal for 2019. This is the ongoing process of it. And so how, I guess, have things been going so far? I mean, we've had a ton of bug fixes. Last time we were even told that we might have gone a little too long on the bug fixes. But, you know, just in terms of like the overarching fixes, I guess, for the game, how are we doing?
Yeah, so you know we've basically gone through and looked at it, and we've established that while we are getting a lot of bug fixes in, we just aren't getting through these things fast enough. We aren't really paying back all of our fans for dealing with this, working through this.
God,
with us
this
for all
guy
these
sounds
years.
great.
And so you know, on that note, we have decided that for the next few patches, we will be freeing up
Please, I
programming
hope this guy can
resources
pull it off.
by pushing out all of the features. And in a couple months, we will reassess and determine if that's the time to put more features in, or if
Holy
we need
shit,
to
they're gonna do
continue
it.
pushing forward and just
They're literally going to stop
hammering
content
on
and
bug
do
fixes
patches.
and
Oh
quality
my
improvements.
fucking gosh.
And part of that is starting with this patch, actually. It's not
Oh
going to
my
come out in the
gosh.
typical time frame after patch notes that we normally have for a patch. It's getting postponed a little bit later. So do you want to just kind of discuss why exactly that is happening for the community?
Yeah, so we are pushing it back 2 weeks. We established this yesterday. We came together and we decided not only do we not want to have another 2.02 situation that did not go out in the best way that we wanted it to, we also want to have more time to get some more quality fixes in there, get some bug fixes, get some
You mean
content
hit play on the
improvements,
game, dude?
Make sure that we are giving this first patch, a solid push.
And make sure that everything goes smoothly on release. And actually, you know, a couple of the things that we've been talking about, like kind of smoothing things out. And we've mentioned in the past tons of the fixes that were on the radar. We even, I think, have it on the radar now. But the first thing up, and Garrett, you know a lot about this one, is just the match lobby rewrite. So I think you have said just kind of reworking it from the ground up.
Yeah, it's a big effort, guys, and it's also
Ranked?
a source of kind of a lot of player frustration. We see a lot of times people reporting like, "Oh man, during champion select I got disconnected, or my game crashed, I got kicked back and got deserter. My portraits got locked in and I couldn't change, or I picked one character and I got assigned a completely different one." And we have a really big explanation for a little bit more in depth on the patch notes. But for a lot of the reasons for this is because this match lobby has existed, the same code has existed with the game for the entirety of its life, when we have kind of shifted many different
So it's a
attributes of the game,
Frankenstein's
and maybe
monster
in some cases entirely different
hodgepodge
code.
of code.
But we still have the same match lobby. So what we've done over the last kind of couple of development cycles is put a lot of effort and time into rewriting it. So not only is many of those issues that you guys are experiencing going to be fixed, we're going to set ourselves up so it's a lot more modular.
Oh my
and
gosh.
sustainable in the future. So we did a
I
really good
hope
due
they
diligence
do
on
this.
this.
I
And what
hope
we
they
want
deliver.
to ensure in this like upcoming 2 weeks that we have enough time to really vet and test it. So no more will there be a lot of those kind of minute, kind of niche case frustrations.
And that is going to be one of those things, like you said, not only helping for the immediate, like once the rewrite actually comes through, but adding anything on in the future, anything that might have maybe caused errors with the current system, it will finally be able to kind of get added in a more modular way where it's just kind of plug and play. It will work exactly the way you want it to. But that is
Makes sense.
going to be something you're working on. The next thing is the bug fixes. Last time we went really heavy on this, and originally today it was going to be a little bit more truncated, and we're going to try to shrink it. But now we do have a little bit more time for you to play with, so you do not have to rap God your bug fixes, but you can take us through, I guess, the things that are planned for this patch.
That's right. So we've got a lot of good fixes in today, guys, and we're going to start with the champion ones. So right off the bat, getting into it, we fixed the issue with Buck's ultimate, where depending on if he got CC during the windup of this, then he gets an exorbitant attack speed boost based on the client-server disagreement of
I saw
when and
that.
how fast he should be firing. So
Yeah, I didn't know what
the
was causing it,
things
though.
that we're focusing on is big things like that. There's a lot of like little things too. We're taking on all comers in terms of fixes. Next, Drogo's issue. So we fixed an issue where you could get your booster locked out if you like tabbed into menus while also still boosting, and then get stuck on and made for some weird gameplay, which like our players do all the time, right? When you're like tabbing to see someone's item buying or your credits pool or like a loadout question, and you're a talented Paladins player, so you're multitasking, right? But then this kind of interaction just makes that a little bit harder to do. Should be fixed, easier to go forward. So Monty, we fixed an issue
That's
with
great.
Frostbolt and Fireball, where it's now properly affected by Haven. Also, the Frostbomb ability is now properly affected by Chronos, which is a really important thing. 'Cause the ability's got a really big cooldown. Maldamba has seen a fixed issue where the Ritual Magic card wasn't working with the Wakono's Curse talent, so that should be sorted out, and you can get really good benefits from more loadouts now. Pip, so we fixed a false fire issue with his potion. This is kind of a long-standing
Oh my
bug. That's why
gosh,
it
they've
seems like,
finally
man,
done
Pip
that?
potion. We were able to engineer it and break it down, and so the client server disagreement where it's like
Finally,
on
that one was
your
such a
player
pain in
is,
the
like,
ass.
spamming potion, right? And it's like you're just throwing a bunch of these like dead potions where you're locked out.
Yeah, locked out.
Should
That's
no
what always
longer be
happens
an
to
issue.
me.
So we've sorted that out for you. Next up, and this one even made recent progress on Reddit too. We were seeing, but we had a long-standing bug where Lex's red space pistols, Renegade phasers, were leaving default textures on their kind of hit marks. Next, the big tank in the room. So Terminus. So we fixed the issue where you would be locked out of using abilities. And we kind of talked about it in the last patch, but basically this is stemming from like a client server disagreement on how many charges you are firing with Calamity Blast. The server would tell you, oh man, you still have one charge to fire, but your client would be like, no, I'm already done. But then because the server still thinks you have charges to fire in your burst, then it locks you out because you can't do anything else while you're firing Calamity Blast. Yeah. The server's like, you're still firing Calamity Blast. And you're like, no, I'm not. I'm trying to swing my
Yeah,
axe,
it makes sense.
or I'm trying to jump. And you get a lot of this hitchy like stop motion. That should be fixed and sorted out for you guys. So Terminus be a little bit more playable in that regards. Also with Terminus, we fixed an issue with the Abomination card where power siphon charges would not be gained from killing blows. Also the It Watches card, we fixed an issue where power siphon charge would not be gained from killing blows with Massacre Axe. So on the design side too, so that was the champion specific character bugs. Now we're going to jump into kind of our map fixes. We've been really focusing on tidying up a lot of our gameplay spaces just because, you know, frustrations with that are pretty upsetting when you're like moving through the world, you're competing against this other player in a 1v1, you need to make this clutch play in a team fight, right? And then like you run into a piece of the environment that like feels like it shouldn't be there, or there's a hole in the collision and you fall through the map even in some cases, which is unacceptable. So for our first fixes,
At least they understand it's
an issue
unacceptable.
where the map floor would sometimes just gobble up.
Dude, both of these
projectiles.
guys are pretty
There's a
big,
very
man.
specific spot where there was some overlapping collision that because of how things were set up, would just eat projectiles entirely. Whether
They
it's
fixed
just
that.
a
Yeah,
shot or
man.
maybe even an
Go
ult that,
Helvian.
like, arcs
Go
and has
Helvian.
gravity and lands and then just doesn't do anything. So that should be fixed. Dragon Arena, we fixed an issue where players were able to get outside the maps and kind of like get behind the scenes. Where
That's
their
off the
cameras are peeking
side,
through all the scenery and stuff. That is
Well, I know
fixed.
where it is.
Fish Market, we fixed an issue where players could blink through or teleport through a very specific spot in the ground. There's a hole in the collision, not big enough for you to actually just fall through, but because of the nature of how the blink and teleport abilities are written, you could go right through this little pinhole in the world and just enter the kill Z and die, which is like terrible. No longer a problem. Ice mines, we fixed an issue where Amani's dragon could just rumble through the gates.
The
as they were-
gates?
they were closed, and you're just on the other side of this, seeing this big dragon come and burn you to death. It's not a pleasant experience, and also doesn't feel right when they're kind of like slipping through the little gaps in those wooden slats. Fixed. Then Jaguar Falls, we fixed issue with the cliffside collision, so you're not going to no longer get stuck or bounce off or camera clip into the rocks on the like Jaguar, like Brazier cliffside area.
Yeah.
Also, Magistrate's Archives, we fixed collision on the upper ceilings in the gatehouse, just adjacent to the point, so you shouldn't be clipping into the map or being able to like obscure half your collision inside the environment meshes. Also, the same thing, but on the pillars on the upper terrace part that overlooks the big vista.
Yep.
That collision has been tidied up as
Saw
well.
that brought up by Helvian.
Then on Marauder's Port, we fixed issues where players could get outside the map or underneath the map and then like shoot players through things.
Yeah.
That should no longer be possible. And then Shattered Desert, we fixed an issue where there
You could
was
do
a
that by like
rock
jumping
near
in the corner
spawns
of the ship
that
in the
could,
spawn.
basically have players floating in air. They were really standing on a rock, but the collision and the rock's mesh were drastically different sizes, so it created a really weird visual appearance. Warder's Gate, we fixed an issue that had players able to stand on the trees by the points and also on the kind of buttresses outside of the
Yeah,
water
I've seen
side
that.
spawn gate. So now you shouldn't be able to get up there or exploit. You'll have the slide off. Some big general bug fixes. Moving on to kind of the next section. So guys, we fixed the loading like profile crash. This is really frustrating for a lot of our players. Like, I want to play Paladins, booting it up. Nope. It like crashes out or like spins for a really long time.
And we actually introduced a hotfix to fix this for
That's right.
some players earlier this week. So a lot of you that were facing this issue, it might be resolved for you, but there might still be a subset of players that are experiencing it. So that's going to be fixed in a hotfix next week.
Yep. And not only would it potentially kill your client there, guys, there were this crash specifically could happen at any time, like in champion pickings, in a game, while you're just browsing the
Is
menus,
that why
right?
I was getting
So,
more crashes during this patch than ever
really,
before?
really
it was
good
weird.
kind of foundational change and improvement.
It's kind of
And this
stopped.
crash
So
itself was pretty old. It had been around since like how long?
HRX actually. So the HRX build was the first time that we actually really introduced this. So that really helped us
Yep.
look back and track it down.
but no longer. It's gone. Yes. Okay. Next,
amazing,
so we
man.
actually optimized the shooting range loading time. So now if you want to go test out your build, it's going to take you 10 seconds less to get into that bad boy. We fixed an issue preventing players from jumping while their scoreboard is open. Super minor sounding, but oddly frustrating because it's like,
Yeah.
I like jumping and I want to see things
Just
while jumping.
constantly.
I am
Okay?
prone to over jumping, and I think I have died more to that than having had an issue with the scoreboard, but I think I like the fix anyway.
Yep. We fixed an issue where completing Battle Pass challenges would just spam you with pop-ups from the Battle Pass. We fixed
Yeah, that's pretty
messaging
annoying.
issues on some of our items, like the heirloom crest, telling you where you would get it. We fixed visual issues where purchase champions sometimes appeared as grayed out in champion selection, kind of piggybacking off of the match lobby improvements, guys. Like the improvement there is gonna trickle into a lot of many other facets that hopefully are gonna be a much better quality of life scenario.
like customized
And
champion,
last one for the
lockout,
general
being in
ones,
casual,
we
but you're
fixed an
still
issue with
picking.
Battle Pass chests where players couldn't roll Battle Pass boosters when all other items were owned. And then so that's kind of the big things. I want to recap the hot fixes that we've done too, because I know not everyone is paying attention to our little blog posts and things like that. So in recent hot fixes, we fixed an issue where gamepad crossplay settings would allow players to like still be in with keyboard and mouse. We re-enabled ranked and the option to opt out of crossplay by choosing your matchmaking selection. We fixed an issue where Mac players experienced a crash on client launch. We fixed an issue where the Play 5 games for the End Times event quest was not working, so you should be able to like kind of participate in the event much better now. We fixed an issue where Xbox users were not receiving the Champions and Founders Packs on Merge after this big cross-play effort, cross-progression effort that we just pushed through. We fixed an issue where players would sometimes get stuck on the loading profile screen, probably similar to kind of the crash scenario. I won't go probably into the under investigation section, but it's still there from last ones, and there's still
This is, I mean, all
probably
that
more
at
that
the
you
end
guys
there
have,
was
so
kind of like
please
just
keep interfacing
making the
with us.
game
We
work.
really love the feedback. The AOC has been really great,
But there
too,
were
in
some
kind of
really
assisting
great bug
us,
fixes in there.
determining
So that's
priorities and
definitely
things
good to
like
hear.
that. But as you can see, we're super dedicated to getting these things
And I do like
sorted
that.
out.
I do agree with
And
that. They do
this
seem
is just the beginning.
they're trying to fix the game
as
now,
Dale mentioned,
which they need
like,
to do.
We are allocating far more time and effort to it, like in this very next dev cycle and future ones as well. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, guys, and we're gonna make Paladins freaking awesome.
And the really cool thing about us being able to push it back 2 weeks gives us a little bit more time to add even more bug fixes in.
Yeah.
So this is just where we're
This list will
at
grow.
right now.
Yeah.
We're actually going to still be in the development cycle for a little while longer. So we're going to post the patch notes tomorrow after the content show, but we'll continue to update those with the new fixes as they come in. And we usually put a little change list up at the top so you can see throughout the next couple of weeks everything else that's going to get added. So we're really focused on perfecting what we have in the game rather than adding more features. And we also have a hotfix coming next
That's
week.
a really
There's
good
one
way of
more
looking at
issue
it.
that I know
Gotta
a lot of people
fix
have
the
asked
bugs.
about. So in addition to the loading profile,
There's a
freeze
good
for
game
people that
buried
are still
underneath
getting
all of
that,
this.
there's also right now an issue on ranked gamepad, and we're going to be addressing that in the hotfix next week. So I know a lot of players have asked about that one.
So keep your eyes out for the patch, the hotfix, I guess, coming out next week, as well as any of the updates that come through. Because, like you said, with 2 extra weeks on the end of this being able to come through, that gives you 2 extra weeks to fix potentially anything that might be listed in that. We know it's on the radar. We
Yep.
know about it. We're either still tracking down how to reproduce it, or it's just tracking down how to fix it, because sometimes those things can be evasive.
And it's not even just bug fixes either. I
Yeah.
was talking to Rafe like before the show, and there are some like emotes that they're wanting to perfect for 2.3 and just add some more polish on.
Yeah.
So you'll see improvements across the board, not even just with bug fixes.
And all the art assets as well. But that, I guess, kind of concludes the hunt portion of this and does kind of lead us into something. You mentioned the Assembly of Champions, something else that they kind of helped with, and jumps us right into the balance section for this one, which I actually noted when we were looking at this earlier is a little meatier than the balance
wanted to
sections
hear
we've
more
actually
about
gotten to
the
have this year. And I
bugs,
think
but
that's because this is like the first
I guess it's
big
their motive.
season 2. Like we've gotten to
They're
see
trying
where
to fix
everything's
bugs
kind of
now,
fallen
and
down.
at least they're saying they are,
And so
so
now
we'll
you
see
can
how it
look at
goes.
some of the adjustments you need
Things
to make.
things are
so-
settling, metas are establishing,
Yeah.
right? Like any of the outliers are being kind of shored up. And
They're gonna delete
as we've
Dredge and delete
mentioned,
Amani?
like, working with the AOC,
Yeah.
like you guys elected like a good group of folks. So good on good on you. But they've been really receptive and super collaborative and kind of bouncing back ideas and stuff, and are dope people to work with. So hopefully you guys like some of the things that we've created. And without further ado, I'm going to go into the next split balance changes. And it not only their balance changes, but like I just mentioned, it's the next split, right? So we have a change to our format. We're actually going to allow you now to be done with qualifiers in 5 games instead of 10. Now
That's
we're
a
moving to a
better
little bit
change.
more shorter split cycles, going to a 2-month, right, to be in tune with our patch release. We don't want you to go through those same 10 qualifiers every time. Going to 5 seems like a much better solution. You have a new set of rewards. You can get a gold chest, and then with the new split, you're also going to be able to earn a limited avatar. It's this like mean mug grok face themed kind of after the rank skin for this season, which is really dope.
That's kinda cool.
Huge fan of it. I'm going to be rocking it for sure. And the champion specific changes now. So right off the bat, because we go alphabetically because we're awesome, Dredge is first on the list. We are going to remove the functionality of the kind of auto team transport on the shortcut. This was obviously a recent ad, and we think it's caused more frustration than actual benefit. And we integrated it because the talent that it was on originally wasn't seeing much use anyways. And we're like, okay, well maybe base, then if everyone just has it, it's going to be
It's like hard
somewhat
to
of a benefit.
use.
And
Maybe I'm just
largely
not
the
pro
net
dredge because I don't really
is
care
still
for
a
it. But
negative
Yeah.
because being
I just don't like the
accidentally
ability.
teleported by dredge portal happens far more than like a dredge portal like transporting you into an advantageous position. So we're going to remove it from the functionality there, so you won't have that frustration in a team fight. But maybe in the future we're going to look to integrate a little bit more of some kind of accept functionality,
I like
whether
that
it's an
change.
additional key press to trigger this transportation, or potentially like I have to stand in this portal for a certain amount of time before being moved. So we're not keeping it out of possibilities, but you're no longer going to have that frustration in this patch. The next thing, and this is in collaboration and guidance by AOC, so Heave Away, kind of the root cause of a lot of people's frustrations with the Scuttle spam build, is seeing a rework, so no longer going to alter the character's reload speed, but now what it's going to do is broadside hits are going to reduce the cooldown of Harpoon, so you can get some synergy between
That
zoning, hucking
is a
this
good
Harpoon back
change.
and forth,
really
without
good
really
change.
emphasizing and breaking in people's perception the idea of the like, man, he's just got infinite uptime on his damage with this reload and his shots and his reload and his shots. The interesting thing to note here, guys, is that Dredge, if anything, is probably underperforming with this build. So at some levels of play, this thing is frustrating, but the actual efficacy is probably a little bit overestimated. So I encourage you, if you're still
Underperforming
struggling
because
with Dredge,
everyone's
to maybe
kind of unanimously
reevaluate how
agreed
you're
not to
dealing
play
with
him because he
But
sucks.
hopefully it'll be less frustrating now that these changes have gone in. Next up, our hot knight
Can't see
Fernando
performance on a
is
champion that's
seeing
been
a little
banned
bit
every
of a
time you
redaction
play
of
in
a change that
ranked.
we just did in recent memory, where we removed the hot pursuit. So we're going to give hot pursuit back. However, there's some changes to this card that
I think
are
that's good.
in collaboration with the AOC meant to keep some things that were fun with our boy Fernando,
Yeah.
while at the same time delivering on a little bit more of the design insight and problems we were seeing with the card in general. Those being that Fernando is he has an easily confirmable weapon, a large mountain of health pool and effective health pool with all of his defensive cooldowns. And in the previous synergy of Hot Pursuit with a low fireball cooldown, bouncing back and forth, you effectively had almost nigh 100% uptime on just being way faster, which for my experienced Paladins players, you know that oftentimes front lines are kind of limited by their mobility, right? Front lines that do have mobility, maybe it's like a large displacement, but it's on a longer cooldown, and it's the uptime that really breaks the idea of a front line being able to flank, right? The flank Nando meme, like just constantly live in a back line and burn people down with like super
He's not wrong.
confirmable weapon, and be almost safe in a lot of regards, because guess what? He's still built like a tank. But he's still able to kind of just die whenever he wants. So the change now, right, is that the movement speed bonus is going to have an internal cooldown. I'm going to be able to trigger this. You have to be intelligent about it, right? Because you're not going to have it up all the time. So you're going to have that movement speed benefit. That's
cool
now going
with
to be
that, but,
40% for
they have a
3
better
seconds
way of
instead
displaying your
50% for 2.
cooldowns.
So we're going to give you a little bit longer duration, but not
Like,
quite
I'm
as
looking
fast.
right at
with
the
that
screen
ICD
just to
on
see
top of
card
it.
cooldowns,
So
which
hopefully
card
you get to
cooldowns
capture
themselves
some
have
of
been
the fun
broken for
that you liked by being able to, like,
pretty long time,
charging,
so-
dive, fireball, be a nuisance in the back lines of the tank, but you're not going to be able to stay there without being open to kind of counterplay.
All right.
And again, thank you for the
We'll
AOC
see.
with kind of working with us on that. So next, our boy Grover. Grover is very, very strong right now. I don't know how apparent it is in the community, but he's entering levels of performance and efficacy that like we kind of have to adjust him to. He has just a
I
lot of passive healing.
actually agree with that.
A lot of
I've
kind of
noticed
intangible
that
benefits that
I
seeing
don't
him
feel
win
like I see
very
people
quite
playing
frequently.
Grover
So we've
very well,
toned
but I look
down-
at their
we've
healing
toned
and
down
it'll be like
rampant
in
ballooning
a
bit.
siege match
We're
120k versus like a
cranking it
Ceresis
down,
134k. He's doing
from,
incredible comparable
Healing
healing.
Ozzy with Blossom will heal them for an additional 160 to 150, and then health per second from 4 seconds to 3 seconds. So the hot on top of it's
I
going to be a
don't
little bit
play
shorter of a
Grover a
time
lot,
frame.
but I can see this
and-
change.
But so
being
there's that
reasonable.
nerf, but then there's also a buff nerf. So Chopper, his self heal, his self sustain card, we're actually doubling the healing values of that entirely. So now hitting axes, if you're running this in your loadout, will see a greater benefit to you. And then also Gentle Breeze card, allies gaining
I like that
movement
rewards
speed.
skill
We're
throws.
reducing this magnitude as well, just because this is one of the intangible things that you probably don't quite feel, but is contributing to his performance. That and the passive healing.
I can agree with that.
Next on our list
it gets
is
more value
Genos,
for nimble
2 supports
and other
getting
things
touched.
like that.
So Genos, this is actually a change kind of, I think, premised by the community, actually, which is really dope, and we thought had a lot of good juice behind it. So changing the percent heal, because we know we combined the talents into basically that 5% heal on base, on just applying that mark. So now it's not going to be a percent heal, it's going to be a flat amount, 300, because the percent heal for lower characters wasn't that big of a benefit. That's a total problem with the idea and the design. Sure, it's great for front lines where 5% of their health is far larger, but 5% of an 1800 health character, it's negligible. Not really worth it. So now it's going to be a flat 300. So hopefully he'll see some strength improvements because of it. Next on our list is Koga. Koga's slaying right now. He's doing
get your
real
claws
good.
nerfed.
Granted, in previous times, he really wasn't in the spotlight in terms of kind of competitive viability for a number of reasons. We weren't quite happy with the relationship of the guns to claws, so we made some changes in an effort to tune that up, but we went a little bit overboard on the claws, so we still want them to be effective. However, we're going to make it riskier to be in and require more skill to do so. So the Dragon Fangs is going to go from 150 HP a second to 200 health per second. So that's a 25% increase in the amount of health it's going to drain from you, so riskier. Okay. And then also Hellkite Claws. These suckers are mean, but we want them to be mean, but we want them to be it's going to be a little bit more of a scaling thing. So we're reducing their size.
Which is good, because you can just point at the enemy and just kill them.
So it's not as easy to hit them. So it's a bit more payoff for our more talented players, and it isn't as easy to achieve. Next on our list is Makoa.
Never thought you'd see the day where his name showed up.
That's it? Nothing but Skewer?
I know there's so many people who are just
They're
like,
fine with Skewer?
Okay. Difficult to touch.
He is difficult to touch. He's strong for a lot of polarizing reasons. But one thing we're confident on that he's overtuned on is his health. Specifically with Leviathan, it's a Leviathan amount.
I can no longer.
Like, it is a lot of HP. It's just
I can no longer cheese.
Like, no other frontline has that, right? And when you see these outliers, it's like, okay, I think we need to tone something down here. It's about time. Like, he's existed with this for a very long period of time. It's kind of the go-to in the competitive scenes where he's like 100% pick ban, usually first pick ban, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to reduce the health that Leviathan grants by 50%. So he's going from 1200 to 600 HP.
Just hope they don't standardize
this is an
everything
effort
too
because
much.
he's a big boy. He does a lot of things. He's got good movement, great defensive, great offensive, and a decent amount of burst damage in his in-hand too, especially in combo with the hook. So he's seen a reduction in survivability on this talent because by large, it's the one that's being played the most and also is the best performant. So toning him back down, maybe we can get some other front lines a little bit higher priority in the draft order. And also shout outs, because this is one of the things that we also work with the AOC on, that is important to them. Last but not least, Moji. Moji, guys, our wizard riding them
What's
lizards.
going on with Moji? She turning into
wizards and
support?
lizards. That's
Can I get that as a title? I want it to be. I want to see
Wizards and Lizards?
wizard riding them lizards.
I know a guy. We might be able to set something up for you. We'll see what we can do.
Wizards riding
An
those
offer we
lizards.
can't
Oh
refuse.
my
So
gosh, I love
Moji, again in collaboration with AOC. Shout out
Turning
to Jay
into
Ferry, is
support.
something that
She's a healer.
he was
There you
kind
go. Boom,
of
done.
driving and talking with me a lot on. So Moji, when we concepted this character, we really wanted to deliver on the idea of like this kind of multifaceted in-hand approach, right? Like your execution of the LMB RMB playstyle meant something to your gameplay. And early in development, we found that the more we tried to deliver on that goal, the harder it was to palette for players that maybe weren't quite as familiar with a little bit more complex mechanic. So we made it less important, right? Now, effectively, right, you can get whatever 80%, 90% capacity efficacy by just essentially holding down both LMB and RMB. So this rework, we're gonna move away from that. We are intentionally making it a little bit more of a high skill ceiling thing, and a little bit more risk versus reward. So the actual changes we're doing, so we're reducing the flat damage of the actual the projectile that you use to detonate your marks, going from 250 to 100, so it's not as much base. We are going to increase the amount of damage that you get when you detonate at the higher end of the stacks to 1,000. It's going from 775 to 1,000 at a max stack detonation.
I see. So it's going to reward.
And then we are going to decrease the
actual
amount of damage benefits you get in the
skilled
lower stacks. So 1
detonations of
through
those
7,
stacks.
you are going to see
Makes sense.
0 benefit from detonating your stacks there. So now your gameplay is very much positioning yourself in such a manner that you can guarantee that max stack count. And the last part of this equation is familiar spit, the thing that stacks, or excuse me, familiar spray, the thing that stacks those marks, is going to fire 20% faster. So not only is the detonating going to do more damage, you're also going to build those things quite at a large increment faster. It's very noticeable in play tests. But there's a large emphasis now on you have to hit that projectile to detonate those marks.
That's good.
And if you do so, you're going to see a
I don't know how
bigger
balanced
payoff.
it is, how it's going to feel, but I think that's good.
Also, we
Mochi
made
could
the
use something other than just holding
spit
down both
a little bit
mouse
faster to
buttons.
fire, so there's less of a pre-fire. So now it's going to be, you're going to be watching that stack, and like when you see the full star logo, you're like, and full star go. So basically, as soon as you hit that left head coming in, you're going to get a detonate if you're on target. But man, missing that detonating projectile now means a lot more. So you gotta be careful with it. So shout out to the AOC for kind of bouncing back and forth to this. We're going in on a little bit more high skill ceiling character here.
Yeah.
Guys, let us know what you think, how it plays. But hopefully Moji is going to be a little bit more effective now on the battlefield.
And that's one of those areas that's like the perfect kind of change, right? Because it's making something high risk, high reward. If you do hit those shots, it's
Yep.
going to make it a lot better. But that is the entirety of the balance section as it is
Yes.
now. I know you had actually mentioned this, and I think I can kind of brief it. Originally, you had, like in December, discussed potentially changing Moji from
Oh
class,
yeah,
but
thank you
just
for
said
reminding
that
me. Yep.
Resources makes that not possible.
Right, like guys, like as we said, Dale's here. He's gonna take care of us. We're changing our schedule to make sure that the game is in a super, like, really great technical integrity place.
Yeah.
And the resources we were like maybe planning on using to take Moji from a flank to a support, it's going to benefit us more to have those on making the game just more polished and technologically better in general instead of doing that. So
Moji can play. She's fine.
right now we're
Just
going
fix the
to
bugs.
adjust
Makes
Moji
sense.
with these numerical core design things from the existing stuff without that class change.
And I think that now kind of opens the floor for you, Alyssa, to kind of go through any community things and also maybe talk about what the plan is for the rest of the content
Right.
of the patch.
So that was all of the balance and the hunt that we had to talk about today. But there's still a lot more coming in this patch. There's Atlas, of course. I know the design team. I know Thunderbrush is really excited to go over all of the content with you guys. It's
He's awesome.
amazing. But we
Atlas
did
looks
want to
pretty
spend
cool.
some time specifically talking about all of the improvements that we're making, not only in this patch, but over the next course of the next few updates, as well as the hot fixes that we have coming, that we will be extending the development cycle for this patch 2 weeks. And we also wanted to make sure that all of the content was ready to show you guys. So tomorrow during the show, which is going to be at 1 p.m. on this channel, same one, 1 p.m. Eastern time, we will be able to show you guys everything. So that's Atlas, all the skins in-game, all the splash art. We wanted to make sure that you guys would be able to see everything and not just part of it, especially since we want your feedback and this is such a extended cycle. So that being said, our next show will be tomorrow at 1 p.m. I think we
Feedback
covered all of the
on
balance and the hunt
how they
for
have
now,
it
but
easy
there
on the
will be more.
PTS.
So keep an eye out
His looks,
as we continue
his
to
playstyle,
update
his
the patch
abilities.
notes once they've been published.
And the only thing
Okay.
I guess left for me to say is
Check
I
the
have
patch
the
notes, I
plug.
guess.
If you are a player either on PC or if you are a player on console, the last open bracket qualifiers for the minor league and the console league are going to be happening this weekend. I believe both at 10 a.m. Eastern, both days, Saturday and Sunday. And it's going to be the last week for you to be able to kind of go open. So if you want a shot at being in either the console league or the minor league, this is your last week to kind of get to that finalizing stage in week number 4. And then, of course, if you want to, you can watch the minor league qualifiers on Monday. We'll be going live with those at 11 a.m. You'll probably hear me say this again tomorrow. But that's pretty much it that we have for the show today. Again, tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. to get all of the content, to get your new champion, Atlas, as well as everything else, the skins, any updates that are coming for this
Get
patch.
your
But until then,
skins.
we'll see you tomorrow.
I hope these bugs are fixed. It was good. I like the new technical director. I like the mindset. If they focus on actually fixing these bugs, I think Paladins is going to be great. We'll see though.